Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Crypto Masters podcast, helping the general public master an understanding of crypto assets. My name is Brian McCoy.
My name is Ross Eaton.
And we are
the Crypto Masters.
The topic of today's episode is Flow. Flow is a Layer 1 blockchain designed to be developer-friendly for games, apps, and related assets. So we'll discuss whether or not we will go with the flow.
Oh, I like it, Brian. And hey, we're in my wheelhouse today because I just combined I just combined games and apps together. But games and apps are, what I do.
That is your thing. So hey, as a quick reminder, we're here to give you some information to help you decide if you want to invest in the crypto assets that we discuss. We're typically not into sort of short-term trading. We're sort of long-term traders, so we like to give the big picture whether we think something is investable. But
no, absolutely. we want to provide information about different crypto assets to allow you, the listener, to make your own investment decisions. This is not financial advice, people.
That was the but. It's not financial advice.
Yes, this is not. So, you've got the power to go and make your own investment decisions.
Do your own research. We've done research here, and we're going to then, now reveal that to you. But then you take this as part of your research and decide.
Yeah, just go with the flow.
So, Flow is a lower cap project. So we're going to take a deep dive into the market cap ratings. Right now, Flow is outside of the top 100 at the time of this broadcast, but it does have a big name behind it, and that is Dapper Labs. So if you've been in crypto for several years, you probably remember Crypto Kitties. I mean, it's still going.
Yeah, for sure.
But in 2017, it became famous or infamous for essentially shutting down the mighty Ethereum network. Became that popular. So, And Dapper Labs was the creator of Crypto Kitties, and then more recently, it's created NBA Top Shot, an NFT platform that is doing very well. So, but now Flow is jumping into, so it's known for those things, the NFTs really, but now it's jumping into Layer 1 blockchain arena, competing with Ethereum, Cardano, EOS, Tron, and all the other Layer 1s.
Absolutely. And Dapper Labs is also known for its large capital backers, venture capital backers, that is, such as Andreessen Horowitz, invested in Facebook and Lyft. You might have heard of them. Union Square Ventures, which invested in Twitter, Etsy, and Coinbase. Might have heard of those. I don't know. So there's a lot of well-known investors behind this project that have their hands in some very successful companies before Flow.
Right. Yeah. So the big names, Dapper Labs has become a big name as well. And it seems like what happened was they were successful with some of their NFTs with Crypto Kitties and NFT Top Shot specifically. And they learned some stuff from that and decided to make their own blockchain. So that's what we're going to look into here today. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of the Flow blockchain. So we see a few main attributes of the project that the team claims make it a bit different. One is multi-role architecture regarding its consensus mechanism, which allows for scaling without the use of sharding. All right, so number 2 is the Cadence programming language. And then number 3 is that it promises easier consumer onboarding. That's kind of what we've decided was the 3 main aspects of it that the team claims makes them different, makes them better.
Yep, those are definitely the big ones here.
Right. So Ross, you're the programmer. I'll discuss the consensus mechanism, and you can discuss the programming language. All right, let me jump in. So as we've discussed before, the consensus mechanism for a blockchain is what gives it its security. Independent nodes have to come to a consensus, and this is then part of the decentralization. It's part of the security. And I'm going to discuss what Flow calls its multi-role architecture. And the way I view this is I make the analogy to the division of labor. Okay.
Oh, I like it.
So in a traditional blockchain, the ones that we know and have talked about, every node stores the entire state of the blockchain, the account balances, smart contract code, etc. And then every node performs all of the work associated with processing every transaction on the chain. So this is, according to Flow, this is analogous to having a single worker build an entire car. So again, we're into the sort of the Henry Ford division of labor. So
I've heard of that guy.
Yeah. So what then Flow does is they call pipelining. They apply that to blockchains by separating the jobs of a validator node into 4 different roles: collection, consensus, execution, and verification. And the separation of labor between nodes is vertical, so it's across different validation stages for each transaction rather than horizontal across different transactions, as with sharding. Mm-hmm. So they really want to make the distinction between what they do and sharding.
Oh yeah, they do. They're not they're not fans of sharding.
No, they're not.
What I've seen.
Right. So in other words, every validator node participates in the validation of every transaction, and that's different than sharding. But they do so only at one of the stage, sort of their stage of specialization. They can therefore specialize and increase the efficiency of their particular stage of focus, which I'll talk about now. So this allows Flow to scale thousands of times higher throughput and lower cost while maintaining a shared execution environment for all operations on the network. And again, it avoids sharding because sharding, they say, saddles the hardest part of scaling on the blockchain onto the developers rather than the protocol level. So they say we're going to take that burden and not put it on the developers because they try to emphasize their friendliness to developers, and I'll let you talk about that.
Oh yeah.
So the 4 types of nodes, here's what they do. Instead of one node doing everything, if you're a node operator on a Flow, you are in one of these 4 categories. Consensus nodes, that's one. They decide the presence and order of transactions on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. Execution nodes perform the computation associated with each transaction. Verification nodes are responsible for keeping execution nodes in check, so kind of double checking the execution nodes.
Yeah.
And then 4, the collection nodes enhance network connectivity and data availability for dApps. So again, it's kind of a division of labor. I say Henry Ford would like this project, and I like it. It is a different approach. I think they saw with Crypto Kitties and with NBA Top Shot, they were able to sort of analyze how the blockchains work, and they thought, why don't we divide it up like this? And it sounds like a good approach. So Ross, What about the programming language?
Yeah, so I have to say Flow has got one of the more exciting programming languages I've seen in the blockchain space and maybe just in general. But this is called Cadence. It's a high-level language, of course, created by Flow, and it's intended for smart contract development and, of course, aiding in NFT development. But now I'm just going to go into some brief aspects of Cadence. But hey, stay with me here because from an investing standpoint, these aspects are a big deal.
Yeah, this is one of their differentiators, so I think we need to get into it.
Yeah, definitely. But the goal for developing the Cadence programming language was to give the developer tools to easily develop smart contracts for Flow. So, for example, if you wanted to create an NFT, a non-fungible token, using Solidity, the developer would have to keep track of a lot of things, such as duplication errors. You have to have, it's a non-fungible token. You can't just create duplicates and, obviously allow malicious people to try to duplicate, for example, your Crypto Kitty, your prized Crypto Kitty.
No.
Yeah, you would hate that. But it does upset Brian. I'm sorry.
I think Crypto Kitties is cool.
Oh yeah, no, me too. But yeah, so this is a lot of stuff. So if you're programming on Solidity on Ethereum, you would have to manage yourself as a developer. And again, that's no fault to Solidity. That was pre NFT era in a way. So, but yeah, the Cadence programming languages gives the developer tools to allow them to quickly create a token object, if you will, and not worry about it being duplicated. it is built right into the language. So it's not only helpful for developer, but aids in securing Flow's network, obviously. So, the developer couldn't accidentally miss something, and then tokens are being created like crazy, and that exposes issues. You see where I'm going here.
Yeah.
But so, for example, just to kind of relate this back to the real world stuff, how Cadence kind of helps the developer with the Flow platform, if you will. When smartphones came out, developers needed a way to code applications easily. So, companies like Apple and Google created their own programming language. Apple later on did, but, they created the Swift mobile programming languages. So, for example, you could easily access the camera on the phone. And that's kind of what Cadence is doing for the Flow platform. It allows the developer to easily, create NFTs, stuff like that. I'm kind of beating the dead horse here. But so if I had to make a loose comparison, Solidity is like a normal car, so
The Ethereum language.
yes, Solidity is the Ethereum. Yeah. Thank you for that, Brian. So, for example, it's like a normal car, and the developer or the driver has to maintain and stay in their lane. If they're navigating somewhere, they have to know which turns to make. But Cadence on Flow is more like a fully electric car, or a self-driving car, let's say. Developer doesn't have to worry, or the driver doesn't have to worry about staying in their lanes or where they're going. They can just punch it in the console, say, hey, I want to go here. And the car manages that, annoying stuff about staying in your lane and, managing resources, stuff like that. So again, coming full circle, why do you care about this as an investor? We're kind of catering our podcast for beginners before beginning investors. If more developers see that programming smart contracts on Flow is easier, then you'll see more programs, more NFT platforms, games flocking to this Flow platform. So of course, more people using Flow, more applications on there, the price should go up. So this is why that's all important. And that's really just the last thing I'll say here, Brian. That's really kind of my pro tip is if you're curious about how a platform is going to do, you can kind of do some research about the developer community behind a certain language and see if they're happy, if there's a lot of resources, because that's directly linked to, how well the coin or token is going to do.
Yeah, for sure. It really can't be overemphasized how important developers are to the success of a platform. I mean, they create the stuff that is actually used by the public, so it's super important.
Yeah.
All right, let me jump into a little bit about the tokenomics, and maybe we should call it coinomics because Flow is actually a coin, but we won't. It's tokenomics. Okay. So as sort of usual, I would say the Flow coin is used for fees for transactions on the blockchain. It's also used to reward the various validators and node operators that I talked about before, the typical stuff on what the coin or the token is used for in a platform. So the numbers now, there are now around 42 million Flow in circulation out of a total max supply of 1.34 billion. So I'll say that again, 42 million in circulation out of 1.34 billion. That is 3%.
That's what I got in my head.
3%.
Yes.
So yikes to that. So some of these are allocated for staking rewards, as sort of usual. Some of the supply is sold to retail investors, and others are allocated for staking awards. But I will say here that a massive boatload was allocated to the development team, to pre-launch backers, and to Dapper Labs. So really not a good picture for the tokenomics, and we'll touch on that some more later.
No, absolutely. So to go into, or as I've already mentioned, the Flow blockchain was developed by Dapper Labs, which is the same team that created the famous, or maybe infamous, Crypto Kitties platform. If you're from Ethereum, you'll call it infamous.
Yeah.
But currently, Dapper Labs is led by its founder and CTO, Didier Shirley. Hope I'm saying all these names right, by the way. And its co-founder and CEO, Roham Gozlu.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope that's right.
We'll call him Roham.
Yeah, we'll say Roham from here on out. So Dittier has developed a specialty in shaping the first waves of emerging technologies. He's most recently co-founded Crypto Kitties, of course, and authored the ERC 721 proposal that defined the non-fungible tokens on Ethereum.
Wow.
Before Crypto Kitties, Didier was a chief architect at Exiom Zen. So yeah, he's well known in the crypto space and very successful in tech. But Roham is a co-founder of Dapper Labs and Flow, of course. He holds a bachelor's degree in economics and dual bachelor's and master's degrees in biological sciences from Stanford University. Heard that's a pretty good school. Prior to Dapper Labs, Roham was founder and CEO of that Exiom Zen, I also mentioned previously. And they've partnered, Dapper Labs, have partnered with NBA, USC, and as well as Warner Music Group and game developer Ubisoft. So
They have some big games.
yeah, huge games. So these are not small players here.
No, major.
And in the crypto world, you often this is just a quick note here. We often see a lot of talk about good projects and on their website. It's almost like this marketing. I call it war to see who can market their tech or platform better. So a good indication for me is if this platform or tech is good, is if they have the big name sponsors and partners, and that's definitely the case here. So.
Right. Well, I mean, Crypto Kitties was kind of something they invented and became very successful. But NBA Top Shot is very successful as well.
Yeah, that one's huge.
And they haven't done. I understand the UFC thing has been postponed or something, but they have some partnership with them, and that obviously could be huge as well.
Yeah.
So
basically the Top Shot of USC. So,
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
right. So another aspect of Flow that it emphasizes and that I find interesting is what it calls consumer-friendly onboarding. So Flow has promised that it can deliver payment on-ramps for users that are designed for mainstream usage. And they talk about two features that ensure that DApp users never lose access to their accounts or assets, and those are human readable security and smart user accounts. I don't think the details of those two features are really needed for this podcast. I looked into it. There wasn't really an easy, understandable explanation. But I think the point is that Flow is trying to improve user on-ramps, and that is definitely something that the crypto space, could benefit if they're successful in that. Okay, so that is kind of our overview of Flow, and so it's time for final thoughts.
Absolutely. Well, one thing before final thoughts, Brian, as I'll say, if you were to buy Flow, where would you get it? And that's in the U.S.
Okay.
I'd say Huobi, Kraken, Coinlist, and OKX are kind of those, where you can get in the U.S. There's some outside the U.S., but of course we're based.
I mean, on those, Kraken would be the one that I think for U.S. Can you get on the others? I don't know about. I don't know about Coinlist, OKEX. I don't know if American citizens can get on.
Honestly, I use Kraken out of those if I were to use one of those. So
right.
That's a very trusted one.
But our listeners in other countries, OKEX is a very big one, and so is Huobi. Yeah. But it looks like no Binance, no Coinbase, so not some of the major ones, but.
Yeah, and that's probably its explanation for being outside the top 100.
It
or at least one of the aspects.
That's true. Yeah. Could be. All right. So final thoughts. Final thoughts. You want me to start?
Yeah, bring it on, Brian.
Bring it on. All right.
What you got?
Okay, so I really like their approach to scalability and consensus. This division of labor concept, makes just sense to me conceptually. I know they have the experience with their projects like Crypto Kitties and NBA Top Shot. And so, I think they saw what was happening where the bottlenecks were, and they created this division of labor concept to address that. So I really like that. Trying new things, competition in crypto, just like everything, makes everything better. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I really like that.
I agree with you there.
I don't know how successful they've been with the consumer-friendly onboarding, but just the fact that they're trying to achieve it is another thing that the industry really needs. So again, I can't really comment on it. I haven't been able to get my hands dirty with it, but the attempt even is very welcome. So I like those things about it. Sounds like the tech is good. I did hear, I mean, just to be fair, I understood and read about during our research that, during the height of the NFT craze, really a couple of months ago in early 2021,
Yeah.
that they actually had some issues where they had to limit the number of, I guess, top NBA Top Shot, cards or whatever the correct term is that could be sort of purchased by any one person. So I think it was a sort of a congestion issue for them, which is a little bit ironic.
Yeah, a little bit.
But anyway, and I don't, maybe that's perfectly understandable, but I think it was worth mentioning. And the other thing is, and this is totally separate from the blockchain, but Dapper Labs has its own wallet, and I have heard some criticisms of that wallet by people who have used it. I have not used it.
Yeah.
So again, I like the tech seems really good, but to me, the tokenomics are putrid.
Ooh, he's fired up here,
repulsive, folks. Horrid, vomit-inducing.
Ooh.
Okay, have I made my point here?
It's getting hot in here.
Here's my example. You remember the movie Black Panther, where the fictional country had that some element that they discovered in their country called vibranium, I think it was called, and allowed them to do all this stuff. If a company had the exclusive right to vibranium, then maybe these tokenomics would make sense. I mean, that's how unbelievably bad these tokenomics are. I mean, the insiders and the VC companies just, got a massive amount and they can dump it on the market at any time. Only 3% has been issued. The inflation rate is just astronomical. The only thing I can think of is they were hoping people wouldn't read this. I don't know. I hate to be so harsh, but so maybe it sounds to me like it's very good and usable if you want to make NFTs, you want to be a developer for NFTs. This might be a good platform. But really our audience who we're talking to are investors, and not investment advice, but run and hide from this. Hard pass for me. What about you, Ross?
Wow. Wow, that's hard to go behind. Well, thank you for your truthful words there, Brian. It's hard to say, but I really like this project. As a software developer,
I don't mind the project.
Yeah. As a software developer, I love to see the care and thought put towards the developers themselves. As a developer learning new language, it is massively frustrating to not have good documentation and examples and things that help you out, So that's one thing that kind of hit me right in the feels, my developer feels, if you will. But yeah, I gotta agree on the tokenomics with you, Brian. It's it's wild. I mean, 3% have been issued so far, so it's like, what the heck is gonna happen from here on out? But man, the tech here is awesome. I see this as a developer safe haven, if you will. If you're a developer, this is the spot for you. From what I've heard about the Cadence, about the tech, it seems like an easy spot to get up and running quickly and easily. Maybe a spot where you and I, Brian, launch something. We'll see. That a lot of stuff in the works here, but yeah, I think that it's undeniable the tokenomics there are just kind of holding it back, and that's that. I see that one as one of the main reasons it's outside of the 100.
So don't get me wrong. As far as using the platform or being a developer on the platform, it sounds really good. I mean, obviously they're experienced in doing a great job with the NFTs that they have.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I just don't see it as an investor. As I said. And I don't need to beat the dead horse.
No, yeah, and that's one thing I'll say. I will be buying some on Kraken here pretty soon, but it's not going to be a large amount. I'm not going to invest one of my paychecks. Are you going to do
that in order to develop something? As an investment.
Yeah, I'd say down the road, you and I are still looking for what platform we want to launch a little idea we have maybe down the road. But
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind using it as a platform.
no, for sure, yeah.
And I guess
but-
we would need some of the coins to to pay the fees. So.
No, for sure. No, at this point, it's just kind of a buy and hold, see what happens. But it's scary that number of coins is out there.
Look into the tokenomics if you're thinking about it. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, another interesting program. I'm glad. I didn't know much about Flow before we started doing the research. So, I love it.
Yeah, this is a new one for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you guys, hey, we'll be back next week with another token or coin to discuss. So tune in again. Thanks.
Absolutely. And go with the flow.
Take care, everybody.